The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. It's time for Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. We'll talk all things Hokie wrestling with Coach Tony Roby and staff. Now, let's join your host, Hall of Fame wrestling writer and broadcaster, Jason Bryant.
Episode 81 of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. This is an exciting episode. Today we'll visit with assistant coach Jared Frayer, mainly because Mekhi Lewis has been so excited since his national championship. His phone doesn't work anymore, and we've got to get him on the next episode. So Coach Frayer, I mean, was it just the sheer excitement and the electricity running through the crowd at PPG Paints Arena that just blew Mekhi's phone up? Is that what we're going with?
Pretty much. It's been on the fritz for a couple of weeks now. It's pretty much an iPod, so it works on Wi-Fi, and that's about it. So tracking him down is he's been a superstar on campus as of late. So he's got. I think he spent 3 or 4 hours in interviews yesterday. So we'll have to come full circle and find him a little bit later in the week or next week.
Yeah, we find out that some athletes is like, we're going to put the phone away. We're going to get rid of social media. If you're Mekhi, just break your phone. That's like the lesson here, right?
Makes it real simple.
I mean, in your day, actually, I guess I say in our day when we're finishing up with college, the phone back then was the flip phone. It wasn't, we'd be lucky to get, I don't even think I did send a text message till like 2004 or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, that didn't happen. I think I was playing that little snake game where you had to eat everything on that little Razor phone.
The Razor, yeah, because that's what they had in Oklahoma back then.
Yep.
All right, so let's not bury the lead. The big news, Mekhi Lewis becomes the first national champion in wrestling in Virginia Tech history. It was hard to find people that had bigger grins than Mekhi, his parents, or you and Tony Roby, but what is that feeling like for you as a coach? You guys had preached it all year. You thought that he could win it. You thought that he could win it. It wasn't just lip service. He goes through and he wins it. Just take me through those last couple seconds of that bout and the emotion from a coaching perspective on what it's like to sit there and be in that moment.
Man, it was pretty surreal. I've been on that stage a couple times now, and to have a match like that where it was really there wasn't too many doubts. You think about all these guys that were in the finals, and there was a lot of crazy matches where it could have gone either way, whether it was in the quarters or semifinals. But for the most part, Mekhi is, he's got ice running through his veins, and really just put together a 5-match tournament that for the most part was won in fairly dominating fashion. So, hugely excited for him. He's put in the work. He's come so far in a little amount of time, and now he's the face of the program. Winning our first national title. For Roby, I was just so relieved for him. He's been a part of this from the beginning and has gotten so close, and for him to get his first NCAA champion as a head coach, pretty gratifying, and I'm just so pumped for him. It's been a long year full of more downs than ups, and to see it come full circle, and for a guy that I know he put a lot of time into recruiting and putting belief in him and his family, and for his family to do the same thing with us, just a super surreal experience to see, the joy of Mekhi, see him for 20 seconds really just lay on top of Vincenzo and be able to really soak it all in, which is, doesn't normally happen. And for us to just, be elated for that amount of time, and for him to be able to jump in our arms and then jump in his family's arms. Really every emotion was able to run through us in that, minute or two that we knew that he was going to be the champ. So pretty awesome stuff.
You've made an Olympic team. You've wrestled in the NCAA finals. You've been a coach for a long time. Where does this moment rank for you professionally?
Man, right up there with the best. Just because I've spent so much time with him, and he's at my house. He has some has strong relationships with my girls and my wife, and we've traveled the world, and he's just so young. He's still 19 years old. The kid is, had quite the last 6-7 months, and the relationship is just at the beginning, and knowing the foundation that we have as a coach and an athlete, it's right up there. I've been in the corner with Andrew Howe and Jesse Jansen and Tion Ware and a couple other guys on the stage, and to be up there with Mekhi and Roby, a guy that I admire so much, and I'm so blessed to be a part of this staff, to get that monkey off his shoulder, get the monkey off the program's shoulder, and for Mekhi to be the guy, that does that as a freshman. It just the story just keeps going on and on and on, and it was something that a storybook, really.
There have been guys that have been in the room that were talented enough to win national titles. And of course, one of them was one of the two finalists in school history who has just recently defended his dissertation. So Dr. Devin Carter, he actually, that was Tuesday. You get out of this tournament, Saturday night, he's got to turn around and defend this thing. I don't even know what that is. I was in school for 7 years, but they don't call me doctor. So, you guys had a lot of talent come through that room even before your arrival. And, you've been some places like, you talked about Jesse Jansen. It had been since, I think, 1938 since Harvard had a national champion when he won his title. And,
Yep.
what does this do for a program? You saw that, people could say, well, yes, we can do it at Harvard. We can do it at Virginia Tech. What does this really mean for Virginia Tech wrestling? And, you come from Oklahoma, from a power program at University of Oklahoma that's done it time and time again going back decades and decades. But what does this really do for a college wrestling program?
It's huge. It shows kids, not only the guys that are on the team, but future recruiting classes, and our boosters, our supporters, the guys that are giving to the SCRTC, and this is what they give for. This is what brought us to this pinnacle, and now it's time to start seeing the talent of this team come to fruition, and looking at team trophies consistently. So I know for a fact in the last 2 years since I've been here that we've lost recruits because maybe they didn't think they could do it here, or it hadn't been done here, so they didn't see the proof in the pudding. So for us to get those blue chippers, I think we have a couple that are coming down the line, that have believed before Mekhi pushed through, but now the proof is in the pudding, and they know that with this staff in this program, national titles are there to win. So it's a breaking point for us. It's something that we needed, someone to push us over the top and show that it can be done. And for a guy that wasn't, he wasn't a top 50 recruit. He didn't win Super 32s. He wasn't, the blue chip of all blue chippers, but he believed in what we were doing. He believed in himself, and that just goes to show that this program is a place where NCAA titles should be won.
We're going to spend some time talking a little bit about the other All-Americans. I don't want to sound like I'm dismissive of anybody else from the Tech program on this episode. We will do a full recap of the season with Coach Roby after this episode. We'll also talk to Mekhi Lewis on the next episode when we can get that done. So I don't want to sound like I'm skipping over anybody, but we got the 3 All-Americans. We got an 11th place finish, 50 points. Overall, you can kind of look at it as a good, bad performance, but, David McFadden, now a 3-time All-American, joins a pretty exclusive list there in Hokie Nation wrestling history. Zach Zavatsky finished his career as a 2-time All-American. But again, with those three, 65, 74, and 84, how did they drive each other all season to make each other better?
Well, iron sharpens iron, and especially for Dave and Zach, they've been a part of the program for a long time, and they pushed each other from day one. And the leadership characteristics of Zach, the way he lives in the room and outside the room, academically, the whole 9 yards. He was a true captain for us this year, leading the younger guys. I think, in many of Mekhi's interviews, he talks about Zach Zavatsky and how he just was able to follow Zach's lead and really just bring him to where he needed to be as a freshman guy in the starting lineup. So Zach has been a leader for this program, not only from the start when he was a star recruit, for him to jump on board and show that Virginia Tech's got something going, to bring this team, 4 or 5 straight top 10 finishes. I mean, he's been a part of that team with the Epperleys and the Carters and, Jared Hott, Ty Walls. He's been here throughout the whole time that kind of the resurgence has come through. So, what an awesome young man. He's already jumping into a full-time job. Just next door, doing great things off the mat. So, super pumped for him. And then Dave McFadden, a guy that's, he was undefeated last year going into the NCAA tournament. He took a couple hits this year, up a weight class. For him to, really have a rough his second round match where he lost to the Army kid. It was a really weird call from the referee, and not something that I saw eye to eye with, and just a hard hit for him because his dream was to win the NCAA title this year, and for him to come back, push through, beat guys that he hadn't beaten ever in his life, a guy like Jordan Cutler, just a super finish for him. I know he's not satisfied, but he was a pretty happy guy. Taking 5th place in the NCAA tournament and then being able to cheer on his brother Mekhi Lewis to win an NCAA title. He's just fired up. I mean, he just texted me last night that I'm ready to get back to work, and we're gonna have to put him on the shelf for a little bit. He needs to recover and get healthy. But man, just so ecstatic for Dave McFadden and what his future holds, and his chase at history next year, trying to become our first 4-time All-American.
One thing that was also notable, I noticed this for the first time at the Division IIIs 2 weeks prior, which was right up the road in Roanoke, is the NCAA then had seats for the parents that were mat side. So you had the parents that were wrestling and then the parents that were on deck kind of sitting behind them, and they had kind of shuttled them in there for Division IIIs. And then they did the same thing this year with Division I. So Mekhi Lewis didn't have to run off the mat, climb over the railing, have the voice of Sandy Stevens in your head. Do not climb over that railing to get to his parents. They're right there. I think that was a cool little thing that the NCAA's done. And I mean, you were right there to see it, right there. Mom, dad, right there. Big hugs. Great for TV, great for the athletes. What are your thoughts on that little move that they've done?
Super cool. And really it's probably better for all the other winners, because Mekhi Lewis could have probably jumped up into the stands. That guy's quite the athlete. And, but yeah, man, just seeing, when he locked up that cradle and when he got that last takedown, I mean, just to see obviously this is Sunday and Monday after the tournament, but just to see the TV kind of him and then the parents in the background and seeing their excitement and their joy, and super cool of ESPN to do something like that. And, then to see like the Valencias behind them and, row after row of NCAA finalist parents is super neat to see. So what a cool idea. And I think it worked out great.
Now, when we talk about the techniques of the matches, and this is something you said you spent a lot of time with Mekhi, that was evident the last time you were on the show, right after a Junior World Championship. I guess every time we do an interview with Frayer now, it's like somebody's got to win a world or an NCAA title. So, I mean, I'm fine with that.
I'll take that.
Yeah. So, what's been the difference from his mindset? Because, he goes into Trnava, Slovakia, doesn't really like freestyle. It's just like third freestyle tournament, wins a Junior World title. Now he wins an NCAA title. Is there any difference in mindset, any difference in approach, any difference in demeanor from September till now?
I think so. Just a little bit. Going into that World Championships, he wasn't. I don't know I don't know what he was expecting. I think he just went out there and let it fly. And I think his NCAA title run was a little more calculated. It's something that has been very important to him for a very long time. The freestyle thing was just let's go try this out, and guess what? I'm pretty good at it, and let's go win a world title. For him, it's Folkestown's been a big part of his life for a long time, and this NCAA title has been something that's been looming over him, and something that he's been chasing after. I remember in Ternava talking about how we're going to beat Marinelli, how he matched up with Joseph, what kind of things can we work on with those guys, when we're just doing our little drill sets in Ternava. So he knew what he wanted, and he went after it. And like I said, ice through his veins. He the whole time. What's crazy about it is, he has a governor on him, and he uses it well in his mind. He knows that he doesn't have to over wrestle some positions, where some of those positions I know how good he is just by watching him in the room, where I know he could have blown through some of those scenarios or found back points. And this is just the beginning of Mekhi Lewis and what he's capable of.
Looking at the bracket the way it is, opens up with an ACC win over Cam Coy of Virginia with a fall, then a workmanlike 4-1. As you said, he could have probably blown the doors off this win over McCormick from Army West Point. Then, he's the 8. He's sitting there, and he's got Alex Marinelli, who, to his credit, had to go through an All-American just to get here. So, the belief is that, you hear that, oh, well, we thought we were the favorite as the number 8. Match strategy. Alex Marinelli, guy he lives up to his name, the Bull. What is the match strategy going in, and what things did Mekhi hit perfectly to enable him to win that match? And kind of, one thing is there's still a little bad blood between the Hawkeyes and the Hokies, but maybe to quiet the Hawkeye crowd as they're expecting their guy to go through and make the finals.
Yeah, man, it's the little things like I was talking about. I mean, we've been gearing up for this match for 6 months. I mean, you watch in the match, there wasn't a ton of in the match adjustments because he knew what was coming and what to do, because he's visualized this match over and over and over again. You see that the left hand getting, the Bull comes with that right hand club hard, and every time Mekhi Lewis, was able to beat him inside every time, and just those little things, were huge. I mean, he knew, there's a little tell in the Iowa guys' shot, and we were able to kind of figure that out. And at no point was Mekhi in danger. And when it was time to execute, Mekhi was on it. Mekhi was on it. I think the takedown should have been called a little earlier, but he stuck with it. Brought him back inside the boundaries and found the score, and that's all I needed. So super impressive, just the way he was able to keep everything in check, keep his mind. The match before that, I believe, was Nolf, and it was a tech fall, and everyone's supposed to hold. Mekhi said, I want to get out there. He wanted to get out there, feel the crowd, make sure he was ready to go, and then it was go time. So no time. He knew where he was and what he wanted to do in the entire evening.
Yeah, 4.5 minute break is sit out there and just like you're bouncing around. It's usually one, as we give the go sign, it's like, man, they're going to just burn themselves out there bouncing around before they get there. But moving to the semifinals, Evan Wick, just a dangerous guy, especially from the top position. A lot of legs, a lot of space for Mekhi to target with his leg attacks. And, with a guy like Wick who is so dangerous on top, the strategy is he's going to get on top at some point. So how did you mitigate his strengths and play to Mekhi's strengths?
Yeah, man, Mekhi's Mekhi, and he can do a lot of great things. And, that was just not a match that we were too worried about. David wrestled him last year in the quarters, and, we just felt confident going into that match. He hasn't been ridden all year, so we didn't think that was going to be a guy can throw a leg in on Mekhi, and he does some things that you just can't teach. So and for Wick to take top in the second period right away, we knew what we had to do, and Mekhi was fresh and feeling good and got away fairly easy. So I think Mekhi actually wanted to go down in the third period. I was like, all right, let's. One time, let's not burn ourselves here. So he went neutral in the third period and was able to get a late takedown, which I think he got one probably should have got another takedown at the end of the second. But that's neither here nor there. And wrestled a dominant match, never was in trouble, and was able to punch his ticket in the finals.
A lot of confidence there. I mean, it's been a lot of confidence from the coaching staff since, even before Trinava, talking about the NCAA championships. But you also got to, turn back the clock a little bit and be like, wait, this is the same guy who lost to Connor Flynn. Let's not get, let's just that's kind of the elephant in the room right now. A guy loses to Connor Flynn and wins the NCAA championship, beating Marinelli, Wick, and Joseph in the process. So one of these is not like the other. So what were the adjustments for him season long that make sure Connor Flynn doesn't happen again?
That was it was as crazy as it was, it was a mental thing. I think he talked about it quite a bit in a couple of his interviews, just that he was pretty high on his horse after the World Championships, and kind of went in there taking the guy lightly. You get a couple of hands to the face right away, knowing that you get one more hands to the face, and this is your first dual meet of your college career. So he's in a hostile environment, wrestling, a fairly good guy, and his emotions just kind of ran wild, and he lost track of what he was trying to do, and he's grown a bunch since that match, and it's probably a good thing that it happened, to tell you the truth. So there's a lot of things throughout his short 2 years here that were blessings in disguise, to tell you the truth. And you just can't make up some of the circumstances that happened throughout the last year and a half. And some things everyone knows, some people don't know. And it allowed him to grow as a man, as a wrestler, and put himself in the situation where he was able to make a dominant run. I'm sure the growing pains, are yet to end, and he'll continue to be great because of them. So our kind of motto is just get better, be better for whatever circumstance you're in. So just super happy, learned from it, and was able to be better because of it.
As we move into the finals, this you want to talk about storybook. It was almost written for Vincenzo Joseph here, Pittsburgh guy. His high school is 3 miles away from PPG Paints Arena. He came out to Renegade by Styx, which is the terrible towel song that they wave for Steelers games. This guy is Pittsburgh. if there was a guy that was going to be okay, I could win it in my home, just literally minutes from my high school. Nolf is from relatively, close proximity, hour and a half or so. Nichols from Texas, Mark Hall's from a bunch of different places. But, it almost seemed like it was a perfect storm for Vincenzo Joseph. And then, the word is that Chenzo got Chenzo'd by a guy, he did it to Isaiah Martinez, and now Mekhi does it to him. But match strategy, one, who taught him to cradle? And if he had it coming in, who helped him perfect that cradle?
Well, he's always a guy that's going to, look for positions to score in. And, we had kind of seen both Marinelli and him kind of do the same thing. And you saw he tried against Marinelli and gave up the escape. So, it's one of those things. Mekhi, once he gets his fingers locked, or when he smells blood, really, because I mess with him because his grip is just not very good. But he's got some long arms, and especially against a guy like Chenzo, who's just an animal. He's a true champion, man. 2-time champ from the Big Ten that wrestled his butt off and took out a 2-time returning champ, kind of the same way Mekhi did. For him to get a lock like that and be able to put Joseph on his back is a pretty awesome task in itself, and just a wild ride that Mekhi went for. He had his ankle hooked, which was the difference between him and him getting it on Joseph and not getting it on Marinelli. So man, got it locked, and I really think he could have got the pin, but he got the 4, and pretty great circumstance when you're up by 4 in the first period or second period of the NCAA finals, and you're at your best when you're counterattacking. So now the guy has to come to you, and it kind of played right into his wheelhouse.
at one point during the finals, Vincenzo Joseph is in on a single, and he couldn't finish it. And it was just, I just had to yell out. I said this over the PA side. I said, "Holy hips, Batman!" Because things you can't teach. Now, how do you coach something to, basically fine tune it? I mean, it's not like, okay, you can tell your kids keep the hips back, but he's got that ability it's almost innate. I mean, how do you work with that? How do you fine tune that to where it is what it is to say, yeah, this guy is the hardest guy in the country to take down?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the more disheartening things in the world, because it's happened to me plenty of times in the wrestling room. It's happened to every single man on our roster. Yeah, he wants you to pick his leg up, because that's where, not only does he beat you physically, but mentally you're like, this is just not fair. So, and a lot of that has to do with his God-given, not his ability, but granted his ability is pretty high, but his pride. I mean, what his mom and pop have instilled in him, in his head, in his heart. He just has so much pride, and he is going to do everything he possibly can not to get taken down. And if he does get taken down, he's going to be a very tough guy to beat. So, just a heart and a head come together, and you throw that in with some world-class talent, and he's going to be problems.
What was the response from Hokie Nation when you guys get done? You're on the podium. He comes down. He does the press conference, and then you guys, go into the social. And what's that response like when Mekhi walks in?
Just before he walked in, this is an impromptu social. So we have a fan hotel. We have our socials before the finals. So, and we might have to change that. Not every year does Virginia Tech have a guy in the finals. So we've done it 2 years in a row, and we've had a social before the finals, which last year we probably didn't want a social after the finals. But this year there was an impromptu social, and there was probably 200 people down in the fan hotel bar, and before Mekhi even shows up, because he has a late ESPN interview, and his mom quiets the entire room and just has an amazingly emotional speech to the whole room, just talking about how hard it was to send Mekhi away, and her relationship with him, and how she's met just so many great people, and just appreciates the fan base, Hokie Nation, the staff. Just an amazing speech by Charlotte, and Keith, Mekhi's dad, was right behind her, and just a super inspirational speech to the entire group. So it was pretty awesome. Even if Mekhi didn't show up, and then sure enough, the boys came in with Mekhi throwing him up in the air, and he gave a short speech and got us all fired up in a 15, 20-second speech, and Hokie Nation was pretty fired up. So I think we closed that place down, and it was something obviously that has never happened in Virginia Tech wrestling history, and it was special all the way around, just to have so many people there supporting and loving on not only Mekhi but the staff, the rest of the team, and just super blessed to be a part of something that is new and fresh, and these what's the word? Unconditionally, this fan base loves our guys, loves our families, and just super proud to be a part of such a special program.
Upon the arrival on campus, we see the photos, and right now, let's say Virginia Tech round ball is having a pretty good run at the that other bracketed thing that we do in March, and to sit there and come home and there's a banner with him waiting on it, and then the next day here's a Sweet 16 thing. It's got to be pretty exciting at Blacksburg right now. What's it been like to see the response from the athletic department?
It's been pretty cool. They've had our back, since day one. They want us to win. They're fired up for us. They did their first class, and everything that they do, and less than 24 hours after he wins, there's a banner out front, and then just like you said, Buzz and the basketball team are in the Sweet 16. So, and that was pretty cool. That was half the buzz that his semifinal match was literally 45 minutes before our second round basketball matchup on Friday night. So everybody was all the bars and places around Blacksburg were already watching ESPN, getting ready for the basketball game, and there you go, Mekhi Lewis taking out Wick to punch his ticket in the finals, and then Saturday night the same type of scenario. So people know about it and are fired up about it, and getting more congratulations and hugs from everyone in the department. Super neat to be in Blacksburg at this time of year, especially with the success of round ball as well. So
I also want to give credit to the softball team. They videoed their celebration watching it. I mean, that was a huge hit on social media as well.
No doubt. Yeah, they were actually playing Pittsburgh Saturday. So our sports administrator went to their softball game and made sure they were all set up to watch the finals that night at their hotel, which they're probably a stone's throw away from the venue. So pretty cool stuff. We have some pretty good relationships with all our programs, interdepartmental. So we're fired up. They're fired up. They're kicking butt. Mr. Babcock has a pretty good thing going in Blacksburg right now.
Again, we'll focus on the rest of the program and the rest of the team in upcoming episodes. But as we close this episode out, I just want to say it one more time because I didn't know if I was going to have the opportunity to say it. I said it during the semis, and I went hokey high. You have a finalist VPI. I was like, okay, I've played it. Hopefully, if he wins, I'm like, you know what? This is simple. This one's simple. I usually don't script out that type of thing because I don't want to do that whole jinxing thing, but it was just like,
right.
All right, let's do it for the finals. Here it is, national champion VPI. And I'll go back and I watched it over ESPN. I'm like, yes, they heard it.
It was perfect timing.
Yeah.
You were on it, man. You did a great job on the call all weekend. So congrats on that. And we're just fired up to have you on our side.
Well, it was definitely you. When you make it easy for me, it makes I'm not the show. You guys make the show easier for me to promote. So that being said, Jared Frayer, last time he was on, Mekhi Lewis won a Junior World Championship. Now he's won an NCAA championship. So let's see how many more times we can get Mekhi on in the summer or Frayer on in the summer because there's plenty of wrestling to be had between now and next year.
No doubt. Yeah, he's got quite the schedule now. So we're just going to sit down and plan that out. And Estonia's out there. He's still a junior. Like I said, he's 19 years old. He's got another Junior World Championships if he wants it. He's got a match coming up possibly with Jordan Burroughs and, all kinds of stuff to talk about. So fired up for him and the rest of the guys. So getting ready for practice here. The Hokies are back to work.
Hokie fans, listen to Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling anywhere you go by subscribing on Apple Podcasts. Go to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com/iTunes, or you can get the exclusive Android or iOS apps by going to InsideVirginiaTechWrestling.com.
Show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.